looking at, we're only 3 days to the by-elections, which is coming on Thursday, 27th. And I'm looking at the attacks that we're seeing from, is it yesterday? And yes, yesterday and from Saturday, yes, where yesterday Mutusa was attacked in Machakos, Mumbuni, and Kashagwa was still attacked. And we're looking at what could be happening, because I think if we have a by-election, or even we have an election of any kind, I think people have to be free. Our aspirants should also be free when they campaign from every region of this country.
Right, indeed, and we'll be having two guests in studio to just take stock of what happened this weekend. As Jeff has rightly put it, those are just the two leaders that were attacked on Sunday. On Saturday, the Trans Nzoia County Governor George Natembeya was at a gathering where gunshots were fired, and two people, by the way, residents, were injured in that particular attack. So we'll be having conversations around this and just the political temperature in the country. You can talk to us across our feedback lines. Do tell us what your thoughts are. Why is this sort of like a do or die by-elections, make or break by-elections, and why it matters for the leaders at the top? And also, you know, just as a reflection as well of what is to come 2027, some bit of aspects of it. So we'd love to hear from you this morning. Talk to us, and we'd be sampling your feedback as we proceed with this bulletin. But before we get into that, let's take a look at stories making headlines now. Tragically, a grisly early morning road accident at Chumbi along the Mombasa Highway claimed the lives of 3 people and left 37 passengers injured. The
crash occurred at around 6:30 a.m. Sunday when a transit lorry heading toward Nairobi allegedly veered into the wrong lane after Chumbi town near a bridge at the end of the dual carriageway.
According to Athi River OCPD David Kandie, the lorry collided head-on with a 46-seater matatu that was traveling from Nairobi to Machakos.
Kandie confirmed that the matatu driver, a male passenger, and another occupant seated at the front died on the spot.
Officers from Chumbi responded swiftly, rushing the 37 injured passengers to the Machakos Level 5 hospital, where they are currently receiving treatment.
The bodies of the 3 deceased victims were moved to the Machakos Level 5 hospital mortuary as investigations into the cause of the accident continue.
Brother yangu akona uzoefu wa miaka 20. Hata haijai kongwa. Kwa hivyo anaonekana alikuwa kwa laini yake. Na ameacha watoto na bibi. Kwa hivyo naomba serikali isaidie.
He was trying to kwenda side ile ingine, so kuna hiyo gari ilikuwa on the opposite side yenye ilikuwa on our line, so hiyo roli ndio ilikuja na head collision with the bus yenye tulikuwa ndani yake.
Well, that puts the death toll this weekend of the deaths reported from accidents, road accidents, especially within the eastern part, at 9. And we condole with the families and empathize, and we wish those in hospitals quick recovery. Now, demolition operations officially commenced on Sunday in Makongeni, Nairobi, as residents continue to vacate the area to make way for a government housing project.
The initiative is planned on a 139-acre parcel of land, signaling a major urban development push by the authorities.
However, a section of residents have raised concerns over pending compensation, claiming they have yet to receive the 150,000 Kenyan shillings promised to them.
And authorities have assured the public that the housing projects will proceed as scheduled, but the compensation dispute highlights ongoing tensions between affected residents and the government over resettlement and fair remuneration.
Tumeishi hapa for almost 20 years. Na leo hii ndio tumebomolewa. Notice pia tulipewa notice, lakini tumeharakishwa na ni uchungu inauma. Mimi wakati nyumba yangu nimeona ikiangushwa, sasa hivi yenye niko sina penye papa kwenda. Bado na gamble venye naweza toka hapa. Jenyato hiyo fedha yenye ametupatia haitoshi kabisa.
Elwe tulikuwa tunalipa 1500. Sasa hiyo ukienda kuambiwa 12 utalipa ukitoa wapi? Eli niende nyumbani. 15 uende kulipa hata 3500 utamaliza. Mpaka wewe uende nyumbani. Hiyo ni njia kutufukuza, lakini tumekubali. Tunaenda.
Vacate na hatuna hata pesa. Hatuna chochote. Ni ya sola. Nyumba ya 4000 5000 is afford. Tutaenda. Kama serikali inatusaidia, tulisaidia.
Sasa hivi yenye niko sina penye papa kuenda. Bado na gamble venye naweza toka hapa. Jenye hata hiyo fedha yenye ametupatia haitoshi kabisa.
Elwe tulikuwa tunalipa 1500. Sasa hiyo ukienda kuambiwa 12 utalipa ukitoa wapi? Eli niende nyumbani. 15 uende kulipa hata 3500 utamaliza. Mpaka wewe uende nyumbani. Hiyo ni zea kutufukuza, lakini tumekubali. Tunaenda.
Na vaketi na hatuna hata pesa. Hatuna chochote. Ni asola. Nyumba ya 4500.
A 70-year-old man has died following violent clashes during campaign activities for the Chwele Ward by-election in Kabuchai constituency, Bungoma County.
The elderly man, who had been receiving treatment after sustaining injuries during the disturbances, succumbed while under medical care.
Several others injured in the clashes are still receiving treatment at local health facilities.
The incident comes amid heightened political tensions in the region as candidates and supporters prepare for by-elections in various parts of the country.
Authorities have called for calm and urged politicians to ensure peaceful campaigns to prevent further loss of life.
We have commenced our investigations. We have recorded the statements of Honorable Area MP and other witnesses, and we have some good leads.
I'm asking the chairman of IEBC, the new chairman in the office, this is your acid test. This is your acid test. Tell us, if you cannot manage a ward and a property can be destroyed to this level, you still have the candidate on the ballot paper. How will you manage 2027 election, Mr. Chairman?
Nilikuwa nagonga jamaa mwingine, akapita akanigonga. Akaanza kuniambia twende hapo kwa gari tuongee. Na mimi nikakataa nikaenda nyumbani.
There has not been any assault to anybody. I was surprised to read from the social media that I assaulted. I don't know who. And then interestingly, they are saying that the assault was on the head, but they were able to collect some X-ray for the ribs.
Na sasa wale wako kule kwa kiwanja wajue kwamba ndugu Manyasi yuko na sisi, tunafanya kazi pamoja, tunatembea pamoja. Kwa hivyo kama ni vumbi sasa wataiona, kwa sababu ndugu yetu amekubali kushikana na sisi.
Now, 2 people have died and several others injured following a gunfire scuffle between rival communities in Angata, South Transmara.
The clashes are reported to have started over allegations of attempted cattle theft.
Oldonyorok Chief Robert Kirui confirmed that more than 6 youths sustained gunshot and arrow wounds and are currently receiving treatment at various health facilities in the area.
Security officers from the General Service Unit, GSU, faced significant challenges in dispersing the fielding youths who have history of hostilities related to livestock theft.
The bodies of the 2 deceased were recovered approximately 2 hours after the violence began, as authorities worked to restore calm and prevent further escalation in the region. Now, DCP party leader Rigathi Gachagua has called on residents of Mbeere North to come out in large numbers and exercise their constitutional right to vote,
assuring them that the ballots will be protected from any form of manipulation.
Speaking during a church service at ACK St. Stephen's Karangare Church in Ishiara, the former deputy president said his team is fully prepared to safeguard the integrity of the electoral process and ensure a peaceful exercise in the constituency.
Gachagua emphasized that a win for Newton Kariuki in the upcoming election would be a sign of respect for the Mount Kenya region from President William Ruto.
He noted that Mbeere North has now drawn national and international attention, describing it as a constituency currently on the global map.
Niambie William Ruto, be a gentleman. Let us have a fair contest. Tumepata habari watu yako ya mkono, huyu Soprano, huyu Ruko Karinda, atu wanatafuta wakora huko Kikuyu, huko Kiandutu in Thika, atu wakuje waangaishe hao wa Mbeere. William Ruto, hao wa Mbeere walikuchagua. Hapana tuma wahuni kuja kuangaisha wa Mbeere. Wewe kama wewe ni mwanaume kamili, kubali tushidane fairly kwa debe, si ndio? Tuangane kwa debe. Don't use akina Ichung'wa to send criminals and goons here. Wale ulinitumia Lemuru wameonekana huko. Wale ulinitumia Mwiki wameonekana huko. Wale waliniattack nikitoka US wameonekana huko mbele. Be a gentleman. We know you are not a good person, lakini ile heshima kidogo umebakisha. Usiangaisha wa mbele kwa sababu alikuchagua. Si ndio? Si mlimpigia kura? At least awachane na sisi. We compete fairly. The dignity and the pride of the mountain people is in the hands of the people of Mbere. I beseech you, my people, please dignify our community. Restore our pride and dignity as a community. William Ruto lacks respect for us. He demeans our community. He abuses our community. He calls us tribalists. And then he says we are cheap, that he can buy the people of Bere for 500 shillings to do what he wants. The people of Bere must say no. You cannot allow William Ruto to disrespect this community that much. And all you need to do to restore our dignity and pride as a people, as a community, is to eat his money, reject his project, and elect Newton Karis. Mutafanya hivyo? Mkule pesa ametoa hapa karibu 600 million. Hiyo pesa ilitosha kuweka stima kwa kila boma katika Mbeere North. Kila mtu sasa angekuwa na stima. Imepelekwa hapa, watu wanakula kila pahali. Kupoteza pesa na ni pesa ya umma. Lakini mimi nikaambia wa Mbeere mkule hiyo pesa, kwa sababu mkikosa kukula, Ruto tayari ameiba hiyo pesa, atapeleka kwao. So acha tukule.
All right, let's take a look at the newspapers and what is making headline. We have the Daily Nation and the Standard. Remember, you can talk to us across our feedback lines this morning. We are streaming this broadcast live. Do tell us what your thoughts are concerning some of the issues that we'll be quickly highlighting before we get into the conversation. Now, interestingly, the Daily Nation has got a headline concerning some of the conversations we'll have on how by-elections will change Ruto rivals 2027 plans. How by-elections will change Ruto and rivals 2027 plans. Now, Thursday's mini polls promise to act as a barometer for President William Ruto in choosing new strategic partners, including entering into pre-election power-sharing deals. For Deputy President Kithure Kindiki and Chief Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi, a poor showing for the President's party in Mbeere North and in Malava, respectively, will have dire political consequences. And that is a story that is on page 4 and page 5. Now, like we mentioned, as we've always been mentioning actually on this show, on the number of times we've talked about this, this is like a litmus test, not just for UDA party, but also for the Mount Kenya especially, putting in mind that how times have changed and how the political landscape has changed, especially for Mount Kenya region. Now, Deputy President Kithure Kindiki comes from the larger Mount Kenya East. This includes counties like Tharaka, Nithi, Embu, Meru, while the Mount Kenya West predominantly, we are talking about Murang'a, we're talking about Nyeri, Kiambu, and perhaps Kirinyaga as well. And so it will be a question of, will they sweep it clean just as they did in 2022, that is UDA party, where most, or at least predominantly, majority of the elected leaders, whether MCAs, women representatives, or members of parliament or senators who have voted from the UDA party within the region. And so this time we've got a new toy in place that is playing, and that is the DCP party of former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua. And that is why in the story that we've just done before we kicked off this newspaper review, Gachagua was talking about how this will be quite a critical election, and says Mbeere North has been put globally as well as within the country on the map. Now, it's a question of how many people actually knew Mbeere North just before this by-election, but somehow, literally, the whole country may know about Mbeere North and may also know about Malava because of just the stakes that are very high. For Malava, you know, Musalia Mudavadi folded his ANC party and joined UDA party, and so they would want to prove their worth, including Kindiki as well, that see, this is what we can bring to the table. We are great ground mobilizers. We can ask our people to rally behind you, and this will perhaps arguably be a reflection of what is to come in 2027.
Yes, and you've talked of Mbeere North. That maybe a lot of people might have not known this region for a long time, and now they're knowing it. Now, they also have not known Newton Kariuki, popularly known as Newton Karish, who has been a secular musician for a very long time. He is not known politically, but now he's known politically. And I'm looking at the temperatures, as you're calling them, from these two regions, from Malava and Mbeere North, whereby Newton is in there against, let me not mention that name, and with another guy there too. But what we're looking at is DCP is the DCP party, and by Rigathi Gachagua they are the biggest or the chief campaigners against Kithure Kindiki, who is the current deputy president. Now we're looking at a place whereby now these two people have held the same position, and they are campaigning for they are chief campaigners for two different people who should be the MPs for that region. Now one was impeached, and we're looking at Kindiki, who is the vice president, whereby he's not been so politically charged, or he's not been into politics for a long time, and now he's just coming in. So we're looking at the competition looking very stiff for Gachagua and Kindiki, whereby we're likely to see some big energies falling into a place we don't want to mention on them.
Right, and you know, interestingly, on Saturday, the Standard had the headline on the UDA candidate from Mbeere North called Leonard Muthende, who, you know, has got, I'd say, a tainted image, for lack of a better word. He was involved in a very scandalous, you know, corruption allegations concerning the Kenyatta National Hospital and the distribution of oxygen. And in question is about 640 million shillings or so. And so this will also be critical because, you know, if the government and the head of state especially is very much against corruption, is fighting tooth and nail to ensure that this is not a corrupt country. Same as the deputy president, Kithure Kindiki, who by the way is a professor of international law. And to have them back a candidate who is at the middle or at the center of questionable dealings where hundreds and millions of money was lost also paints a picture perhaps that, you know, they are not eating what they promise, or they are not, you know, biting their tongue in terms of corruption and fighting corruption. So these by-elections will be critical for Ruto and also for the rivals, because what does it mean as well if Gachagua was to lose Mbeere North? What would it mean as well if DAPK was to lose Malava constituency, which is at the heart of the Mulembe nation? And so, you know, these are very critical questions that all these politicians will try to sit and gauge. Right now, obviously, we've got a few days to wrap the campaigns. Constitutionally, they're not essentially, you know, there's a deadline to when they can conclude campaigns. And so everybody will be trying to rush to get that last, you know, to get their last I'd say agenda out to the people, but then now the real work actually begins after the election date, because even if you lose, you know, you may lose the by-elections, but come 2027 you may win. So, you know, this politics, the numbers really could change any minute from now. So that is a story that we'll be talking a little bit more with my guest in studio. Also top of the page, State House leads other offices in budget breach. This is on spending, where Treasury data shows that State House spent 4.32 billion shillings against a quarterly target of 1.2 billion for the 3 months to September 30th, overshooting its recurrent budget by 125%. Also, it's back to school for 30,000 CBE teachers, as special needs education and vocational training teachers will undergo mandatory refresher training in December, as the Ministry of Education races against the clock to prepare for the transition of 1.1 million learners to grade 9 and grade 10 in January 2026. So those are some of the stories on top of the Daily Nation.
Okay, that's great. And we're looking now at the Standard newspaper, which is the Kenya's board newspaper. Now, Cynthia, last week we talked about the traffic police officers and also the traffic marshals. Yeah. There are these people you find in town. They're not police officers. They're from the Kanjo, and they just dressed or even adorned as the traffic police officers. And we're looking at a place where, or even then, last week we checked at how you should be taking advantage of very, very desperate people, or even people who are earning very little, and you just taking advantage of each and everyone. And we did very simple calculations whereby maybe if at all you're able to get like 10,000 daily legally, and there's someone who's struggling to work and they're struggling to give you maybe 100 shillings or even 200 shillings per day. And now we're moving from we're coming from the traffic police to another group of police, and I'm looking at the irony whereby iyo uniform yao and iyo kofia yao, it is written very well that utumishi kwa wote, but in turn it turns out to be someone is taking advantage of the other because of the uniform that they're wearing. Right. And I think uniform should be a very big respect. And number one, it outlines what you should be doing and how you should be protecting you people or the citizens. But now the Standard is talking of licensed to extort. And it's a criminal nexus, it's a kind of a connection. And a shadowy criminal network has spent the past year sweeping across Kenya, posing as state officers and extorting millions from the terrified business owners, or under the protection of uniformed police. Now the Standard uncovers the full scale of a brazen scheme, legitimized by dubious gazette notices and quietly enabled by senior commanders. At its center, it's a private company accused of impersonating regulators from KEBS to KRA while shaking down traders nationwide. Despite official directives to halt the operations, the syndicate continues to strike with impunity, leaving victims asking who is protecting them. Right. And we're coming back to this, and page 3 of the Standard, Kenya flagged among Africa's crime hotspots.
Wow, I mean, what a red line that has been drawn on Kenya amongst the African hotspots. I mean, simple example was the case of a gentleman who was posing as a brigadier, conducting recruitment. And I remember us here on set saying that is just one case that was found. And this person was living in Kilimani. Guys, this is Kilimani you're talking about. That means this is a person that has been able to have sort of like a crime network and a syndicate where they can get a lot of money from dealings, from fake recruitment of police officers and all other cadres. But to also look at the headline on license to extort, that means we've got a criminally arranged network, perhaps mostly within Nairobi City and other parts of the country, where you're having people posing as police officers. And when you are in trouble, most of the time you'd want to go to a police officer for help. But that means you'll have to, toa kitu kidogo kwanza so that we help you. Or toa kitu kidogo, let's make this case go away. So it's a worrying trend. And it also brings into question on the audit of number of police officers we have. And how often do we even have that audit where we can actually audit every police officer, whether they got to the positions legally, their academic certificates are genuine, whether they went through the training that they are supposed to go to, where they work, who do they work under, and etc. And perhaps these are some of the things that we need to talk about when we're reforming the National Police Service to just ensure that we curb on this.
Yes, and actually the standard is not talking of police alone.
Yeah.
We also having people impersonating as KEBS and KRA officials. And number one, for your product to pass through KEBS and to maybe certify the qualifications of a product so that it removes from that chain maybe to the issue of production up to the level of consumption. Before it is transitions, there are a lot of inspections that should take place, and the same with KRA. And I'm looking at a place maybe where say you've not filed maybe for 10 years, and then someone is coming in as a KRA officer, and they are really not. They've pretended to be KRA officers. Number one, they won't follow the regulation that they're supposed to follow, maybe when demanding for you to pay back or even to file what you've not filed maybe for a certain period of time. So this, to me, they'll come in a way that they may demand like 10 million from you, and this 10 million, none, or even there's no coin getting back to the government. And we wonder, that's where actually this syndicate, actually it is being gazetted. So if it's gazetted, this is to me is something that is taking place for a very long time. As we looked some few days ago about the issues of ghost workers, ghost institutions, and what have you, this is to me we also have, these people can also be ghosts maybe, or even they really or physically impersonate, whereby they're representing someone from KRA. And if you go maybe to the KRA itself, there is a position whereby it is not occupied because they lack someone. But outside there's someone who is put in place under gazette, and they are really working as they're supposed to be working in KRA, and they are extorting Kenyans. And whereby, number one, if you extorted Cynthia, you've started a business for some good time, and then you've been in place, and these people are sent to you. It's like, I remember a long time ago when people used to brew Karubu, the local brew in maybe Eastern region. There are these patrol police officers who could come into the village and to maybe, if they find you brewing that Karubu, they either pour it or even you pay something to them. Right. I remember an incident where someone I know and is a neighbor who these police attacked them, and what they did, they took all the money yet sold and later they poured the Karubu. So it is a big loss. So this translating into the businessmen and entrepreneurs that we have around this region. If you found not following the right regulations of transacting or even having a business in Kenya, maybe there is a way they can just end your business because they are demanding more than they're supposed to, more than what should be demanded from the KRA, yes.
Right.
Yeah, so, yeah.
And you know, it's also about due diligence, because it's not just within KRA and KEBS. Also, you know, the LSK, we've got a lot of quack lawyers where you know, you're going, you want a case solved, somebody tells you, no, I'm a lawyer, you pay charge, you know, the lawyer's fee and any other fees that may come about, and then at the end you find that it's false or he's fake or she's fake. Talk about the land sector as well. You're going to buy land, somebody says, you know, I'm a National Land Commissioner or a member of the NLC, I can help you with land matters, I can help you get this title deed very fast, only for it to turn out to be fake. So due diligence is quite important. Always try and ensure that you've consulted as much as you can, you've engaged as many people as you can, so that you can ensure that whoever you're engaging or dealing with is actually true and is not somebody that is out to extort you. Yeah, sure. And this you can read from page 2 of the Standard newspaper, and I think we're ending here, but before we go in there, how much are you supposed to pay to a police officer to make sure that your OB is written? It should be free. When you walk into that police station, you've got a case, you've got an issue, and they say we want to note it down in the OB, it's supposed to be free. Do you know how hectic it is for you to get that Kasmal document? That number. And it is written utumishi kwa wote. All right, a lot of questions right there as well to just the, you know, the people in key offices, and just, you know, are we honest people? That's a big question. Are we people of integrity? Individually, as you speak, is Cynthia an honest and a person of integrity? Before we can now start auditing a whole department or a whole sector or a whole ministry. So allow us to put a full stop on newspaper review at that particular point. But we'll be coming back with our guest in studio. I'll be joined by Dr. Wangoli from the lecturer from the Pwani University is a lecturer, as well as Robert Makwa, who's a political analyst, will be taking stock of the by-elections this week, Thursday. A crucial week ahead. How do we maintain discipline, by the way, as a nation? So that conversation returns. We'd love to hear from you.
I think we also need to be responsible citizens, and sometimes you don't have to indulge in ourselves into activities that maybe will make us look corrupt or even corruptible in a way. Coming up next, a great topic.
All right, stay with us. Don't go too far.